Hello, good evening, and welcome to another round of quizzing with us with Game of Facts. Now, before you will be sending in your questions about where Rashmi is, she's perfectly all right. It's just me today trying my hand at the English quiz, at the Saturday quiz. So I'll be your quiz master, your quiz host for today. And I hope that you enjoy today's quiz. You learn a lot of new things and maybe new different facts that change your perspective and your whole idea about data as well. As you all know that Shivangi is back with us. She was there for the quiz yesterday, and I hoped that you enjoyed her quiz yesterday because she was very happy to be back. And with that, I also hope that every one of you, all of you are well and safe. All your people at home are safe. All your family members are safe, and if they're not well, I hope and I pray for this speedy recovery, that they get well soon. Before I begin the quiz, I'd like to tell you why we play this quiz. What is that? What is it that we want to achieve through this quiz? It's actually quite simple, and we've been telling you this every week. That what we do is we try to discourage the spread of misinformation, because that is something that's out there. So it's out there. Misinformation is something which spreads so quickly, and there's all we can see is fake news. We cannot distinguish between fake news and actual news. So it's our responsibility to actually propagate only news and not fake news, understand the difference between fake news and what is actual news. Then what else do? We burst myths for you. We try and sort of bring you close to the facts as much as possible. There are many myths which are associated with different aspects of life, and there's stigma that's associated again with many things in life. So here at India Fact Quiz, we try and burst those myths and remove that stigma. We try to, as I said, propagate facts and data as much as we can, so that the youth is well aware of what is happening around them, and can take better decisions based on the data they see. We try to change your opinions based on facts and data, and sometimes try to build that awareness amongst the youth. So that's what we like to do. We like to test your bias. We don't ask you questions which are general knowledge based, but then sometimes we do pop in a few general knowledge questions as well, because we think that information of any sort is important, although data is utmost important. And with that, as you all know, that India Fact Quiz is powered by India Spend, which is an independent news platform, independent journalistic platform. And it is an initiative of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And we come up with Game of Facts quizzes every week for you on Fridays and Saturdays, Fridays being the Hindi quiz and Saturdays being the English quiz with Rashmi. And today is my first time here, so I hope you enjoy it. Um, all of you who join us every week know how to play the quiz, but for those who have joined us today for the first time, I'd like to tell you it's very simple. What you need to do is you can either play from two devices, or you can use just one device. So if you're using two devices, on one device, you can see me here. And on the second device, you can log into Kahoot, that is KAHOOT.IT. And after you've logged into Kahoot, it'll ask you for a game pin. And please enter that game pin that has been provided to you in the chat box. Once you enter the game pin, it'll ask you for an email address, your email address. Please put in your correct email address and then add in your nickname. That's it. That's all you have to do. And then you will be in the game. You will be able to answer all the questions in the quiz. And just to sort of tell you how the marking is done. So as soon as you give the answer, the person who gives the answer first gets maximum number of points for that particular question. So be a little quick, be swift in giving the answers. Also do think about the answers. But most importantly, learn and enjoy. That's all I'd like to tell you. So that's about the rules. To begin with, we have the poll questions. That the first three questions are the poll questions, and they don't have any points. You will not be judged. You will not be marked on that on those three questions, because they happen to be questions so that we put these questions so that we can come to know more about you, and you can get accustomed to how Kahoot works, and you can play easily for the quiz. Today happens to be International Day of Families. So my poll questions today are around families, to know how you are with your families, what is your relation, what do you like to do, and a little bit about your families. So somebody who's still yet to join, please join in soon before we begin the actual quiz. With that, I almost forgot about the book. So the book that you're going to get today is called Honor Among Spies, and this is a book by Asad Durrani. So Lieutenant General Asad Durrani was Pakistan's former ISI chief, and he has written this book. It's been co-written by A.S. Daulat, who was the chief of India's RAW at that particular time, and journalist Aditya Sinha. So these three people have come together to write this book, a very interesting book. This book is a fictional account of a spy who was sent out into the cold, and who's fighting, who's struggling to protect his reputation. So a very interesting book, and I hope that the three winners of our today's quiz, who get this book, enjoy reading this book. Do write in to us and tell us how you like the book, whether you liked it, what aspects of you like, what aspects of the book did you like. It really gives us a great amount of joy when all of you tell us how you feel about the book, how you feel about Game of Facts, when you send in your feedback. It's just a nice email conversation we have. Yukta is asking to repeat the name of the book. It's called Honor Among Spies, which is written by Asad Durrani, and hope you enjoy the book. Um, there's one more thing I'd like to add. May 12th was the International Nurse Day, and this is celebrated to this is celebrated to honor nurses all around the world. And this happens to be the birth anniversary of Florence Nightingale, who was regarded as the mother of modern nursing. So this year's Nurse Day theme was Vision for Future Healthcare. And you'll see many questions in the quiz also about nurses, about nursing. So hope that you enjoy the quiz and you learn something new. Now with that, I'll be sharing my screen, and we can see who all have joined us. Okay. So we have Akhil, Shreyan, Mamta, Piyush, Adya, Ritish Kumar, Naresh, Rahul, Rudraksh, Rohit, Rohan, Kam, Dhruti has just joined in, Aman, Elvin, Sushmita, Harshita, Shilpa, Vanchika, Yukta, Nilab, Sharvani. Welcome to all of you. It's just so great to see so many people here. Nishchay, Neetu, Prem Chabra, Swati Goswami, Naisi, Nishant. Thank you so much for taking out the time and joining in today for the quiz. Hope that this was worth your time and you enjoy each and every part of it. With further ado, I'll just begin with the poll questions. And let's see what is our first poll question. Okay, so our first poll question is, do you think this lockdown phase has got you closer to your family? Do you think that being with family is the only bright side of this whole pandemic? Or do you think it's the opposite? It's gotten you away from your family? Or you think not really, you're stuck in a different city or country? Or you've been always close to your family? So what is it that you think has this lockdown done for you? Okay, So 39 of you have opted for being with family is the only bright side of the pandemic. Well, I can't agree more. It's I think the most, it's the brightest side of the whole pandemic. 33 of you have said always been close to my family. That's amazing. That's so nice to hear. 7 of you have said rather it's the opposite. 4 of you have said you're stuck in a different city or country. I can imagine how bad that might be feeling at times, because it's already so stressful, and to see that you're away from your family, and when that's all you got to, that's all you got in this time. So we move on to the next poll question, and this is a multi-select, so you can select more than one option. Who is your go-to person in your family? uh, your brother or sister, siblings, your mom, your dad, or your grandparents? Who is it that you go to once you have any problem, or it's who is that go-to person in your family? Okay, so 54 of you have said mom, 26 of you have said grandparents, 39 dad, and 32 siblings. That's it's kind of how, or it's always been. Moms are the first person people usually go to, and of course there's a difference between that number there for mom and dad. But grandparents are the ones who just, I mean, they pamper you and they spoil you like anything. So that's just uh, it's just lovely to have grandparents. And siblings, of course, they understand you to a different level, so it's great. I actually go to every person in my family, so that's just about me. Moving on to the next question, which is a word cloud. So you have to type in, what is that one activity which brings your family together? You have to type in that one activity which sort of brings the whole entire family together, and you have a nice time and you enjoy. Venkatesh is saying you didn't give the option for spouse in the last question, the previous question. Well, uh, there were just 4 options, so I couldn't put in spouse there. Okay. Some one of you've said all moments. That's nice. Function, travel, picnic, video calling, watching TV serial. Yeah, TV is something that brings all the families together. Cooking, dinner, food. Yeah, it's just good to eat all the meals together. It reminds you of how grateful you are. You have your family with you. Vacation is a nice time to spend playing games, tea time, business, watching TV, badminton, television. Yeah, many of you have written having dinner, conversations. Yeah, see, dinner table, dinner time, having tea together. So food is something that brings everybody together. Chai, Pina, and IFQ. That's just so amazing. Oh my God, it makes me feel so happy that IFQ is on this list. So that's just great. Birthdays, playing with children, adventure, conversations, watching Ramayana. Oh, wow, that's different. Nice. Really, really nice answers all of you've given. Now, I'd just like to tell you, if there's still somebody who wants to join in and is still waiting, please pick up that phone and put in the game pin, which is provided to you on the screen. That's 147 9912. And quickly join the game before we start with the first question. Okay, so moving on to our first question, and you have to tell whether this is true or false. So Kerala has more doctors than nurses. I just told you that it was Nurse Day on 12th May. So we've put in questions about nursing and nurses. So this particular question, is it true or false? This particular statement, is it true or false? Okay, so 57 of you said false, while it's actually true, and 33 of you got it correct. So nurse to doctor ratio for Kerala is 0.9 is to 1. So that's not that bad. Actually, if you think about it, it's if you consider the density, it's 23.4 is to 25.4. It's not that bad. And chances are, whether you've been to a hospital or or somebody who is admitted to a hospital, you might have come across a nurse from Kerala, because uh, the best nurses come from Kerala. So that's a contribution that Kerala has made to the entire country. I have more to add on to this question, but that I'll do after the next question, because these are somewhat related. So we'll quickly move on to the next question. And but before that, we have the scoreboard, and let's see who's on top. We have Aman at the top of the scoreboard. Then we have Rahul Jain. On the third position is Darshan, Nishant, and then Parisha. Don't worry, this keeps changing very quickly. The whole scoreboard keeps changing very quickly. Uh, let's move on to the next question. Bihar has more doctors than nurses. Now you know that Kerala has more doctors than nurses. So does Bihar has more doctors than nurses? What do you think? This is true or is this false? Okay, just 18 of you got this one correct, and 71 of you said it's false, while it's actually true. So both Bihar and Kerala actually have more doctors than nurses. There are two major sources of data when it comes to nurses. One is the NHWA, which is the National Health Workforce Account, and the other is the NSSO, the National Sample Survey Office. According to NHWA, the nurse to doctor ratio, it should be around 2.02 is to 1, which is every one doctor should have two nurses at least. And the nurse to doctor ratio for NSSO is 1.7 is to 1, which is approximately similar. Again, around two nurses for one doctor. But these ratios, they vary differently from state to state. So if you see, there are states which are on the higher side of this ratio. That means they have more doctors than they have more nurses than doctors. So examples of such states are Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, and Haryana. And then there are states which are at the lower side of this ratio. So that's Bihar is one of them. And so Bihar's density is as such, it has 2.2 is to 4.8 nurses, nurses is to doctor ratio. That's the ratio for Bihar. Jammu and Kashmir and Madhya Pradesh are other two states where the ratio is similar. So now we'll move on to the next question. But before that, we have the scoreboard, and we see a shift. Nishant is on the top, and then we have Aman. After Aman is Dhruti, Vishnu, and Tanmay. So that's our scoreboard for now. Let's move on to our next question. You have to tell us whether this is true or false. Delhi has the highest number of active nurses. Is this true or is this false? This is true, and 58. Most of you have got it correct. It's true. So Delhi has the maximum number of nurses or midwives. If you compare all the states of the country, the density is around 31.0 per 10,000 population. It's the highest ratio actually. If you see, there's for every one doctor, there's about 4.8 nurses. So the ratio is 31.0 to 6.5. So that's a great ratio there. But if you compare this with Kerala and Bihar, so Kerala and Bihar, it had less number of nurses, and clearly Delhi has more number of nurses. So here we can see that most of the nurses from these places, from Kerala, they migrate to Delhi, and therefore Delhi has more number of nurses and a better health care system there. Okay. Now we have our scoreboard again with a little bit of shift, with Aman being on top, Vishnu on the second position, Tanmay on the third position, then Darshan, and then we have Rahul. Okay, moving on to our next question. We have globally more people die of tuberculosis than in road accidents. Do you think this statement is true or is this false? Globally, here we are talking about globally. So this is false. It's actually the opposite. 38 of you got this one correct. And tomorrow, so Global Road Safety Week starts from tomorrow. And United Nations has identified road safety as the top priority because there are so many deaths that have been seen, that have been recorded because of road accidents. So there is a need for better road safety measures. So according to WHO, world traffic injuries, globally the traffic injuries that happen, they are the eighth leading cause of deaths for all age groups. But when you consider children and young adults within the age of 5 to 29 years, it's actually the leading cause. So it's more than diarrheal diseases, tuberculosis, HIV. Road traffic injuries cause more deaths than all of these. To compare it with these particular diseases, diabetes mellitus is around 2.8%. It causes deaths out of the total deaths that have been caused. 2.8 is because of diabetes mellitus, and then around 2.5% of the total deaths are caused due to road traffic injuries, due to road traffic accidents. While 2.4% of the deaths are because of diarrheal diseases, and 2.3% deaths because of tuberculosis. So you see that tuberculosis is a little low when it comes to the causes of death, and road traffic accidents are actually above that. It is very interesting because there's a relation between road traffic deaths and the income levels of the countries. So if you see the data, although just 1% of world's motor vehicles are in low income countries, these low income countries account for about 13% of deaths that occur because of road accidents. So this is a stark difference that you see. Just 1% of world's motor vehicle is there, and 13% of deaths because of road accidents. So this is something to think about, and that is why it calls for major road safety, major road safety processes to be in place. Moving on, we have our scoreboard, and there's a slight shift, though Aman is still at the top. Then we have Sanju, Keshav, Niharika, MMWW. Okay, interesting name. Moving on to our next question. Which of these states has the highest density of doctors? So you have to select one of these states that has the highest density of doctors. Is it Uttar Pradesh, Kerala, Delhi, or Maharashtra? Okay, so 27 of you got it correct, and this is Kerala. So Kerala has the highest density of doctors per population. Kerala, this is majorly because of the fact that Kerala is a highly literate state. So we have many doctors coming in from Kerala, and there are if you see the data, there are a large number of senior citizens who happen to reside in Kerala. Large number of senior citizens per population. So clearly, it's clearly because of these two aspects. It's Health is the priority of the state, and we have major doctors. It's the highest density of doctors in Kerala. Let's look at the scoreboard. Okay, now Sanju is on top, at the top, And then we have MMWW. Please tell us what your name is so that we can say it. And then we have Kishore, Keshav, and Aman. Okay, moving on to our next question. 38% of all nurses are in the age group of, you have to tell the age group, whether it's 50 to 65 years, 30 to 39 years, 15 to 29 years, or 40 to 49 years. 38% of all nurses are in this age group. What is that age group? Okay, not bad. 31 of you got this one correct. And this is 15 to 29 years. It's a quite young age group that accounts for about 38% of all the nurses. Largely women are nurses, we've seen, and there's a high concentration of young healthcare professionals in this age group. So 15 to 29 years that are in nursing and dentistry particularly. So doctors in particular are much on the are much in the older age group. So chances are when you visit a hospital or maybe you visit your dentist, they might be young and your doctor might be a little old. It's since we know that it was Nurse Day, and we celebrate it, we honor them, we ring the thalis and we light diyas. But it's important to note here what actually is important for them. What is it that they want? Nurses in our country, they want better working conditions, they want better career opportunities, because looking at the data, it's just a very young age group that most of the nurses are in. And for them, at the end, sustenance is the most important part of the job. So it's imperative that we give that the government provides them with the best working conditions, best career opportunities for them to grow in their particular field and sustain themselves better. Okay, let's move on to the scoreboard. And Kishore is at the top of the scoreboard. We have Sushmita, then we have Karthik, Sanju, MMW. Okay, this is interesting. Let's move on to our next question. In India, women are expected to outlive men by, so you have to tell the duration. Is it 2 years and 7 months, 3 years and 2 months, 1 year and 4 months, or is it 7 months? So in India, women are expected to outlive men by, what is the duration? How many years, how many months? Well, 28% of you got this one correct. 28 of you got this one correct. That's the correct answer is 3 years and 2 months. So the life expectancy for women is 72.66 years, and for men it's 69.37 years. So that's how they outlive women outlive men by 3 years and 2 months. Reasons for this could be different. Maybe because of the mental stress that's seen more in men, or maybe generally women are stronger. But what the data is actually trying to tell us here is that since women outlive men by this duration, 3 years and 2 months, there needs to be better opportunities, there needs to be better services for women so that they can sustain themselves better, be it life insurance, be it different insurances or pensions, or preparation for old age. So this is something that is very important for women to this is something that is very important for women to have some sort of security to live those extra years. Okay. Now we have a scoreboard with a little shift on the last three positions. So Kishore is still at the top. Then we have Sushmita, Sanju, Aman, and Tanmay. Okay, moving on to our next question. Which of these countries provide the world's health systems with the highest number of nurses? Vietnam, India, the Philippines, or Thailand? Which of these countries, which of these four countries provide the world's health systems with the highest number of nurses? This is interesting. Okay, wow. 22 of you got it correct. It's the Philippines, and 34 of you answered India. Well, it's not actually. It's so Philippines and India are the uh, largest major are the major sources of nurses, and these two countries provide the world health systems with the nurses. But Philippines on top, it's above India in this list. So the major recipient are the Gulf countries, and although Philippines and India, they export so many nurses, so so many nurses are from these two countries, but their own domestic these two countries' own domestic nurse labor market differs completely. So if you look at Philippines, there's like a huge there's an excess supply of nurses there. So uh, and in contrast, India suffers from shortage, as we saw. So the reasons are actually something to think about. Why is it that India has so many nurses but is still is still short of nurses? The major reason I would say is because of the working conditions that are there in this country. Um, the nurses are not treated with respect here. They are treated poorly. They are screamed at. They have to do the worst possible jobs, cleaning the bodily fluids of patients, and then they are they're shouted at by doctors, by families of the patients, by patients themselves. So all of this actually creates very poor working environment for the nurses. They have very low salaries, no benefits, and I think that's the reason why they migrate to other countries, because they feel that here in India they're not provided with what they actually deserve, which is actually very sad. And then of course there's inadequate training facilities as well. So this sort of data actually tells us that we need to think about how we treat people unknowingly, maybe, or maybe knowingly, when we are in a hospital. So next time when you go to a hospital, um, or you're visiting somebody in a hospital and you happen to be around nurses, just try and remember to be a little polite, be grateful, and maybe appreciate them for what they do, because what they do is very difficult. And as far as the situation now is concerned, it's just highly commendable. And after that, how they are treated, it's just sad. So it's something that we should now be more cautious of. We should think about when we are in a hospital. We should treat them with that respect that they deserve. And now our scoreboard still looks a little similar. So we have Kishore on top, Sushmita, Karthik, MMWW, and then we have Sanju. Okay, let's move on to our next question, which is a puzzle question, and this is for double points. So you have to arrange these, rank these states from high to low based on the number of nursing colleges they have: Karnataka, Kerala, Uttar Pradesh, and Punjab. You have to arrange these from high to low based on the number of nursing colleges, sorry, these states have. You have 30 more seconds to do it. Think about it and answer quickly so that more points come your way. Okay, this is really interesting. I think just a few of you got this one correct, and I'd like to know who got this one correct. So the correct order is Karnataka, which has about 475 nursing colleges. Then we have Uttar Pradesh, which has about 287 nursing colleges. Then is Punjab with 211 colleges, and Kerala with 176 colleges. So here, if you see the data, the NHWA data tells you the stock health workforce, which means the health professionals that are registered with the NHWA and that are registered with different agencies. And then you have active health workforce, which is the NSSO data. That's so the active health workforce is the workforce which is actually working right now. For stock data, it's around 34.6 per 10,000 population. And if you look at the active health workforce, which is at around 27.5 per 10,000 population. So you see a huge amount of, you see a big gap there. Maybe that's because of some doctors or some healthcare professionals are underqualified or maybe less qualified. So there's this difference between the stock that has been registered and the active health workforce. And the WHO, it recommends at least 44.5 doctors and nurses per 10,000 population. So in any case, if it's stock or active data, whatever data that is, it's still less than what the WHO actually recommends, which is around 44.5 per 10,000 population. So this is something to be considered. And looking at the COVID situation, the health workforce, it needs better infrastructure. It needs a greater amount of investment so that we can actually bridge this gap of the numbers that is there. Here, I'd like to take a very interesting example. Okay, so we're almost at the end of the quiz, and we saw that Delhi has more nurses than doctors. It has actually got the highest density of nurses. But if you look at the number of nursing colleges in Delhi, it's only 18. And if you compare this with Kerala, which here in this list is at the bottom, it has around 176 colleges. So, and we also saw from the first question that Kerala has more doctors than nurses. So where are all the nurses going? Clearly, we can see that the nurses are migrating to Delhi, and maybe eventually migrating abroad. They're going to different countries. So with this, we can see that I think these few questions actually portray a story about the whole aspect of nurses in India and how they are being treated here, what is the age group, and how finally they migrate to different countries and creating a shortage here. So I think this is something to be thought about, and it's imperative to improve the working conditions in India, because if there's not enough staff, like we can see right now, we need better infrastructure, we need better equipments, but staff is equally important. And the worst part is that we have nurses, but they're just opting to go out of the country just because we have such sad working conditions for nurses here. So this is something I'd like to leave you with today, and we'll move on to our scoreboard for the last question. Not much of a shift there. Kishore is still at the top, Sushmita, then we have Karthik, Abhina, and MMWW. Okay, moving on to our last question for today's quiz. And this is again a puzzle question for double points. So you have to rank from high to low road accident fatalities based on the vehicles or mode of transportation. Three-wheeler or auto rickshaw, car, two-wheeler, or truck or lorry. So you have to rank these from high to low based on the vehicles or mode of transportation, the fatalities caused because of these. You've got 23 seconds more to answer the question. Please rank this from high to low, these road accident fatalities based on the vehicles or mode of transportation? Okay, so 13% of you got this one correct. And the correct order is two-wheelers, which account for about 38% of the road accidents. Then we have truck or lorry, which is about 14.6%. Then we have cars around 13.7%. And then at the end, we have three-wheeler or auto rickshaw, which is about 4.7%. Usually the puzzle questions are difficult. I thought this one would be a little easy. But then if I were to answer this particular question, I think I would have I would have put in truck or lorry at the end, because from my perspective, in a truck, there'll be just one person or maybe just one driver and one more person. So accounting for less number of fatalities. But if there was an option of a bus in this particular question, I think that would be somewhere in front, because buses account for about 5.9% of total road accident fatalities. Okay, so with this, we come to an end of this quiz, and I hope you enjoyed. Let's just look at the scoreboard. But before that, the winners, please write to us on connect@indiafactquiz.com, and you'll also be given a link, the prize claim form link. Please put in your details there, and I'll also just request you to be patient and wait for your books, because these are very difficult times and we're trying very hard that the books reach to you as soon as possible. But then it's not in our hands, because the lockdown and everything, all the situation, it's just difficult to get the books to your doorstep as soon as possible, but we're trying our best. So please be patient, and let's have a look at the winners today. So at the third position, we have Padmaja, sorry, and then we have Karthik, and then we have at the first position, Kishore. Okay, congratulations to all the winners, and the runners-up are Sushmita and Prem. I hope you enjoyed today's quiz, and we'll be very excited to see you next week. Have a great weekend. Join in for the Hindi quiz with Shivangi on Friday, and for the English quiz with Rashmi on Saturdays at 5 p.m. See you. Have a great weekend.